Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Fabulous. This is an exciting night, and the room is full of energy, and that's exuberant as shown in your greetings, so keep it going. For those of you who have not had an opportunity to meet, my name is Julie Sina, and I have what I feel is the very best job in the universe, sorry judges. And that is that each and every day I get to wake up, which I feel good about, but also to serve as the director of the UCLA Alumni Association, and also work as the CFO of the UCLA Foundation. And we know that tonight is going to be absolutely exciting because it's the culmination of how many months of work? 6, 5, hearing a lot of numbers out there, so few, we'll say. And we're so grateful to the collaboration between our students and all of the Social Entrepreneurs Academy participants tonight, because it's really that partnership and that collaboration between the community and our students and our faculty that drives an evening like tonight. So part of the program, in terms of the work that you've been doing together, what's come across over the last couple of months, the 5 to 6 months that you've been together, is an incredible amount of idea generation, market research, financial planning, business planning, and much more. And the culmination is tonight, in terms of the showcase that you're all going to experience, participate in, and in some cases judge. So again, thank you for everything. And again, the engagement between the community, since I believe by 2011, over 80 teams have competed, and partnerships have been out there between our community agencies and our students and our faculty. So thank you so much, Betsy, to you also for your leadership for this. We're holding back with a standing ovation before the night is over. And now one of the people that I want to meet is somebody I'm so grateful as a partner for us in the UCLA Alumni Association, and that is Andy Atkinson. Professor Atkinson serves as a Stanley M. Zimmerman Professor of Economics and leads our business economics program at UCLA. And it was just a couple of years ago that we had the opportunity to join this partnership with Partnership UCLA, really an idea that Andy generated. And since then, over the last 2 years alone, we've engaged over 11,000 alumni in partnership in the work that we do inside the classroom, outside the classroom, and in competitions like this. And we could not do that, Andy, without your partnership and your ideas, so we're so grateful for that. And the last thing I'll say before I turn it over to Andy is to our students that are in the house. Take a look at our alumni who are judging tonight and our alumni that you've worked with throughout the year. When you graduate, that's one of the expectations we have from you, is that you'll continue to be engaged and continue to do what the alumni who have engaged with you tonight in this program and throughout the last couple of months, because that's what Bruins do, right? So without further ado, Andy.
So thank you all for coming, and thanks to the staff of the non-for-profit organizations that have participated and gone to such great effort to come to UCLA campus and participate in this academy. This is a time at the end of the culmination of our Social Enterprise Academy that I'd like to reflect briefly on the meaning kind of personally for me and perhaps a little bit more broadly for the students that are participating. Our stated mission at UCLA, and particularly in the Division of Social Sciences, is to, as a faculty member, do research on the full range of human experience, and we improve ourselves if we can bring it into our teaching. And over the years that I've been doing this is our 8th year, and engaging more broadly with our alumni, I see that right in front of us in our alumni, and more broadly in the Los Angeles and Southern California community, we have that, maybe not the full range of human experience, but a very broad range. And by bringing alumni and the staff members of these nonprofits to campus, I think it gives an opportunity for the students to experience diversity in the broadest sense. It's not just diversity in the student body, but diversity of who you're seeing and working with. And I hope this can become a model kind of more broadly for undergraduate education and community engagement. But especially for me, this event and the previous event where we had the first round of competition, where we went from 10 organizations and 3 were presented as finalists, every time what happens is people get up in the presentation and say something about themselves that I just didn't know, even though I've been with them, for 5 or 6 months. And that's always very moving to me to learn some aspect of, wow, this person had this experience and I was dealing with them all this time and I just had no idea that this was in their background. And so perhaps the students feel the same when they see this. A lot of times students learn something about each other. I learn a lot about the students when they submit essays and when they apply for this course. They say things about themselves that you never normally learn in a classroom experience. So I just want to kind of celebrate that and express my gratitude to all of you to allow me to be part of that. And so with that, let me say, well, let's kick off the program. And my understanding is my partner Bessie Densmore is going to tell us about how the evening is going to go.
I'm very proud and very grateful that we have managed to grow and maintain this program for 8 years, and hope we'll have 8 more. I'm the managing director of an organization called Academies of Social Entrepreneurship, and our mission is to foster programs that support social entrepreneurship. Particularly, we focused on helping not-for-profit organizations get over being no-profit and in fact move towards being more entrepreneurial by starting earned income ventures, otherwise known as social enterprises. And our core program has always been a social enterprise academy where a cohort of people can, organizations can together move through the business planning process, which we found early made it a whole lot more likely that people would succeed because people could lean on each other, cross-pollinate, dry tears and celebrate successes better when everybody was doing something, which for a lot of nonprofit organizations is kind of unusual together. Having said that, we've, my favorite and I think most successful academies are those which we do on this campus because along with recruiting some quite extraordinary not-for-profit organizations from this region, and we've had them come from as far away as Las Vegas and El Centro, east of San Diego, we get to work with and have the support of 50 very talented students who join the teams that the not-for-profit organizations put up and move through the process together. Our work is all centered around creating a venture that is a match for the criteria that are in your program. Those criteria will be the criteria that we've asked our judges to use in deciding how the money should be awarded this evening. And I would ask that you listen keenly to how the judges, the comments they have, and yourself use those criteria when it's your turn to be a judge in our second round of presentations when 7 groups will be presenting elevator pitches. I also want to just take a minute highlighting the particular talents of the judges as I introduce them. You have a slightly longer, you have a little bio sketch on each of them in your program. One thing that should be pointed out is that they are all UCLA graduates. They're all Bruins of various, yes, like that. But more particularly, I want to point out that they are going to be listening to these pitches from quite different areas of expertise, all of which I think are very valuable in figuring out what kind of a venture is, what's going to make a successful venture. So let's see. So starting on this end, I'm just going to ask that you wave. So we have Vera De Vera, who is the Director of Leadership for Movements at the Weingart Foundation, which underlines her very long career, about 2 decades, in philanthropic grant making as well as in leadership development. And then next we have Juan Satello, who's COO of PayScout, which is a global payment processing company, which underlines, and what you will find from Juan if you get to talk to him is that he is an expert in figuring out how to get people to engage, not just to pay their bills. And a part of that ability comes from his second career as a film production person. Then we have Lynn O'Connell, whose gift is in public relations and in communications, without which no business succeeds. Next, we have Sahil Panama. Did I pronounce that right? Panamia, sorry. Who is an executive at Netflix and another person in the domain of marketing, but all with a particular focus on social media. And then we have Robert Fowler, who has spent a lifetime of investing, both in the private sector and on behalf of various charitable foundations. And finally, we have Angel Zapata, who has a vast experience in community banking and in the interface between banks and their communities. So I want to thank all of them for making time to be here tonight and ask that you all welcome them and wish them well. In their challenge. So let's get started.
Who gives us the cue? Hi, I'm Dan.
And I'm Danielle, and we are Coffee with a Cause.
So, I never dreamed that I would be here today. You see, I'm a pastor by training and trade. So, what I never realized is that I would be here talking about this social enterprise. Because the one thing that I do know as a local pastor is that community matters for me. And community, in my case, ended up changing my life, bringing me here to today. You see, 7 years ago, I reopened a church in Pasadena. And while I was there, I encountered youth, homeless, sleeping in the church parking lot. Now, I had no idea then how major a problem homelessness is among transitional age youth in LA County. In fact, there are 2,274 youth sleeping on the streets right now. And that number, as we're about to soon find out in a couple of weeks, is only going to rise. So we realize that we're facing here not just a housing crisis, but an economic crisis. So for the youth that I encountered years ago, this invisible population, I realized that I had to figure something out. So we began to develop a coffee training program. And that coffee training program helped the youth in our local area find jobs in the coffee industry. We began with coffee carts, and eventually we opened up our own cafe called Rosebud, which I'm the founder and director of. I want to introduce you to Donata. She was the very first youth that trained with us years ago. At the age of 18, Donata found herself on the streets because she had a domestic dispute with her foster family. Now, Donata eventually completely changed her life when she joined a brand new training program. And with just the willingness to learn, she learned the training skills for a barista, and she learned the interpersonal skills that are needed to sustain a job. And Donata ended up at the end of our program receiving employment at a high-end cafe in Hollywood. Now, years later, she has a stable home and she's raising a beautiful daughter. So her story then joined the testimony of dozens of other youth who went through our training program. And now we're excited to see where this can go next. So what we've been looking at is how do we take the carts that we've developed to this cafe, and how do we begin to offer not just training, and this is what we've done at Rosebud, but actual employment with livable wages for the youth. That way we're bringing a solution to their economic plight. And this is happening in one of the largest industries of our nation, coffee.
So coffee is a $51 billion industry, and third-wave specialty coffee shops are the fastest growing segment of this market. 64% of Americans drink at least 1 cup of coffee every day, and 35% of those coffee drinkers buy their coffee from a cafe. So, with 330 million people living in the United States, that leaves a market of around 75 million people. So that is a huge, huge market. In addition, we found that 9 in 10 millennials are willing to switch coffee cafes, to one with a socially driven mission. And we've seen this in-house with Rosebud because 41% of their returning customers keep coming back because of the cause. But as you can see, less than 1% of the cafes in America are socially driven, but that leaves a completely large untapped market. And so we're not the only ones who see this. 9 locations have come to us requesting partnerships. And so for our social venture, we want to go big. We want something scalable, we want something feasible, and we want something that will impact the communities around us. And so we've decided to franchise. And so our 2 models is one for new coffee shops, where we will take care of the structure, the systems of implementation, and the training programs at a 3% revenue charge. And for existing coffee shops, to rebrand the shop into Coffee with a Cause store at a 2% revenue charge.
Now, the real secret of our success has been combining community with excellent coffee. And we're talking about coffee at the quality level of Blue Bottle intelligentsia. But what we also have found out is that people who love good coffee love even more a local cafe that's committed to making a difference in its community with a sustainable business. So why join? Well, one of the things that we're able to do is we're able to provide a partnership between local nonprofits with a new franchisee to help cover the cost of training. So while they're saving on the training, they're also at the same time impacting the life of a youth that they're working with. Plus, they have access to our different affiliations and allies like Starbucks and Blue Bottle who offer long-term employment after the training.
All right, so we've broken down our strategic implementation into 4 easy steps. The first is to reach profitability with our first location, Rosebud. The second is to build out our flagship store, Coffee with a Cause. The third is to franchise locally around the Pasadena area. And the third is to expand and take it state and then nationwide. And so far, we've already completed the first 2 steps, so you can say that we're halfway there. And our goal, so we are asking for a $30,000 grant to match one that we've already received, and that will go towards the remarketing and remodeling of our new location.
So we're positioned now to take that grant with your support, build out that flagship model, and take us from cafe to cause.
And here we have a graph of our revenue by category. And so we projected our model to the year 2030 with an estimated 30 franchises. And so by taking 2 or 3% of a revenue share from each location, as these locations grow, our profits will continue on exponentially. And then here we have the same graph, but in terms of revenue and profit growth. And just keep in mind that all profit is funneled back into new partnerships and franchises.
So here's a few of our board of advisors, now 8 of them from diverse backgrounds in business, doing a great job keeping me on track with their strategic plans, their Gantt charts, so I'm not getting way ahead of myself, plus surrounded by an excellent team on the management side with over 20 years together in the coffee and nonprofit industries.
And our direct management team is full of a bunch of individuals who have been proven entrepreneurs.
So why invest? A few reasons we want to close with. One, we just believe that our work speaks for itself. We've done this with the coffee carts, with our first location, now onto our second location.
And we've expanded our niche, and we found the sweet spot between socially driven and third-wave coffee shops.
Also, we've had a very diverse group of organizations ask us to partner with them. I've had a letter of intent received from a church down in Long Beach, and just a couple of days ago, I received an email from a lady out in Indiana saying, "Do you franchise?"
And our franchise model is very scalable. Very scalable.
I do have a comment. First of all, I like the idea of building on a model where you can franchise and grow a business, I think is really commendable. My only thought would be that I saw when you ramped up that you're ramping up pretty fast. And so I would have liked to have heard a little bit more about at which point would you evaluate success and then whether or not you want to scale up or maybe scale back. So if I was an investor, I'd say, well, that's rapid growth, but at what point do you figure out that maybe we need to slow down? And it also would have been nice to have heard a little bit more about the job training and sort of the longer term impact on the people who would have been part of this overall economic development plan, because I think that it has legs, so congratulations.
Just okay, coming down the line.
Sure.
I agree with Angel. I believe that you have an incredible story to tell, and I would do that. I would encourage you to make that part of your business model. And also reporting back is super important for constituents who come in, customers who come in. They want to keep track and they're interested. That's why they're coming to you.
Yeah, kudos for addressing a dire problem here in Southern California with the homeless issue. I agree with Angel's assessment about the scalability of the business, and I think it all just comes down to execution and surrounding yourself with the right people. I'm sure you know the statistics on why small businesses fail, but I would just suggest that you surround yourself with the right people who can provide some guardrails to you as the CEO and director of the initiative.
Great presentation. I enjoyed it. And Dan, your enthusiasm was infectious, and keep that passion. And that story in the beginning, I think, was powerful. So very concise with the data, but I think it's the story that really connects. And related to the social cause in that market, I'd like to see an expansion upon that, because I think it's, I think the number one job that you would have is to recruit a great team. And I think the way you recruit is through your culture. And you could recruit, retain, and inspire through that aspirational vision and passion that is showing through. And that market is right for that, especially when we talk about millennials, so maybe a connection there. And then our product seems like a very unique differentiator. Getting into those 3 layers, I think, will help sustain and grow. And the traction portion of it, and you touched upon where you are, but I think there's traction more than just revenue numbers or showing data. There's also partnership traction. There's traction from when the concept started to where you are now, and within what time frame. So I think that's important to demonstrate as well in terms of your capability and your team's capability to expand.
Great presentation, and I really want to underscore the importance of the partnerships that you all have formed with other nonprofits, with existing businesses. If there was anything I would offer up in terms of a suggestion is you focus a lot on the training and staffing, which is great because that provides, like you said, hopefully livable wage jobs for young people who so much need it in this region. But also paying attention to the viability of the cafes themselves, to remain open, to remain profitable, because you can do all the training in the world, but if the cafe, because of location, because of customer base, or whatever it might be, we know that small businesses fail at a very high rate, and so it's making sure that that business end of the cafe is as strong as the training program that you're providing. But great presentation and terrific concept.
One last comment here. I thought it was very smart that you chose the specialty coffee niche as we think about the consumer who's willing to pay more for that cup of coffee, $4 to $6 for a latte. Let's say they probably have a higher avidity to pay for a nonprofit mission-driven as well. And especially when you look to franchise out to specialty coffee shops, I'm thinking about a local coffee shop here in Westwood called Perfetta you might have been to. As I think about kind of what motivates them, and they tend to be mission driven, so I think it's really smart to focus on the high-end part of the market. And I would encourage you to think about their shoes in terms of rebranding the coffee shop into a coffee with a cause model and what that might do from their positioning standpoint and how you can kind of bring those two things better together. But I thought, great idea overall.
Hi everyone, my name is Lauren.
And I'm Erica.
And we're here today with Scholars Hope Foundation. Picture a kid from Huntington Beach. What do you see? How much money does their family make? What's their parents' educational background? And where are they headed off to school next year?
Chances are he didn't imagine Ivan. Ivan is in 9th grade. He's a typical teenage boy dealing with all of the typical pressures that 9th graders face. But what he also has to deal with is going home to a neighborhood with 2 rival gangs, which, as you can imagine, bring their own measure of violence and fear into his daily life. But what he also has to deal with is the pressures of joining those gangs, and in addition, dealing and the temptation of engaging in the negative behaviors that many of those close to him are engaging in. But Ivan is not the only one. In this picture, you'll see a lot of our happy faces of our great students. They live in a neighborhood called Oakview in Huntington Beach. Now, they come from an average family household size of 5, with their families making approximately $24,000 a year. Household size of 5, $24,000 a year. Not to mention, our parents reported having 62% of our parents reported having less than a high school education. These are all factors that impact college access. So, at Scholars Hope, we work with students from 5th through 12th grade, and we deliver a formal curriculum after the school day. The 2 main areas we deal with are academic support and social-emotional guidance. But what exactly does that mean? Well, let's liken what we do to the workforce. We work with the hard skills and the soft skills. Those hard skills are the English, math, and science concepts that are going to help kids be better students. But what we also help students with are those soft skills, things like work ethic, conflict management, stress management, that are going to help them be better people, better workers, and better collaborators. And we do this because we feel that underserved students can be just as competitive in today's global workforce. And we also believe that meaningful relationships between trusting adults and youth during their formative years can change the trajectory of a life.
So Scholars Hope currently sends 100% of their students off to college, but the success rate comes at a cost. So they were looking for a sustainable revenue stream to support their program. Now our team noticed a number of underutilized resources during the summer, including full-time access to a classroom, a year-long teaching staff, and a strong social-emotional curriculum. That is why we have designed the Summer Coding Academy, a series of week-long camps that teach middle school students basic coding skills through the creative lens of gaming. We aim to capitalize on students' recreational interest in gaming to teach them the basic skills that go behind their creation. Furthermore, at the end of our 5-day-long camp, students will be able to code a basic computer game.
Now, we know coding is a bit of a buzzword right now, but it's really interesting to note that programming jobs are growing at 50% faster than the entire job market overall. So if we really, truly want to give kids a competitive edge, we can't ignore this statistic. So we, based on research done by our team, we found that 75% of middle schoolers would like to learn to code or have some minimal experience in coding. But what do their parents want? Well, 9 out of 10 parents want their kids to learn to code. But here's the problem. Only a quarter of the schools in the U.S. currently offer coding. So we're answering the call of our consumer by offering a affordable 30-hour curriculum, week-long coding camp for the affordable price point of $400 a week. And because we are serious about our mission, all current middle school students in the Scholars Hope Foundation program will be invited to attend on a scholarship.
So to take a look at our market, there's about 10,000 middle schoolers in Huntington Beach, and our survey shows that 75% of them are interested in coding. So from these 8,000 potential customers, we aim to conservatively reach only 1% of our target market in our launch year of 2020, filling 150 seats over the course of 6 weeks. But why choose our Summer Coding Academy over the many other offerings in Huntington Beach during the summer? We have a number of key competitive advantages, with the first one being geographic. Currently in the 5-mile radius of Huntington Beach, there are no coding camps. In Irvine, there are a couple, but Southern California traffic makes this quite a commute. So we plan to be the first and only coding camp in Huntington Beach. Furthermore, 72% of surveyed parents said they're looking for summer activities for their students that are both fun and educational, in part to combat the phenomena dubbed summer melt, which is the idea that students who are intellectually stimulated during the summer are more likely to end up going to college.
Now, as an organization, we're prepared to deliver meaningful curriculum on just a few of the topics listed here. The first one being balance. How to balance an online and offline life, which is something I think everyone could use help with. In addition, confronting failures. In other words, failing forward, making a mistake, learning from it, and then being better because of it, as well as that vital skill of collaboration. We also are fortunate enough to have a good relationship, a very strong relationship with the owner of a premier gaming venue in Huntington Beach, Ultimate Media Ventures. Now, through this relationship, we'll be able to take our students to the venue on a culminating field trip so they can learn more about the career options in coding and gaming.
So to take a peek at our financials, in our first summer of 2020, we'll be filling 150 seats, bringing in $35,000 in income. And by 2022, we will have doubled the number of students at our camp and nearly tripled the amount that we are bringing in $93,000. But where is this money that we're earning going? Well, all of our funds will be going right back to Scholars Hope to allow more students to attend Scholars Hope after school. In our first year, 15 more students, just like Ivan, will have access to Scholars Hope. And by 2022, an additional 35 students in the Oakview community can attend Scholars Hope. That means by over the course of 3 years, 75 more students, just like Ivan, will be going to Scholars Hope after school, accessing higher education, and having the opportunity to pull themselves and their families out of poverty.
Now, Scholars Hope is in year 5 of a quasi-experimental longitudinal study with Claremont Graduate University, which we will plan to engage as we continue through the venture of our coding camp to measure the success of that. But we have found time and time again that our results show that deep relationships are at the core of our success, which is why we have decided to invest in highly qualified staff, in particular our programming staff of master's level teachers and counselors who are passionate about student success.
Now, to take a look at our timeline, this summer we'll be conducting a 3-day beta test with our current students to receive feedback on what methods of teaching coding students are more receptive to. Over the course of the year, we'll be initiating recruitment of a coding instructor and marketing to local schools. And by the summer of 2022, we will launch the Coding Academy, planning to expand beyond Huntington Beach in the coming years. That is why we come to you today requesting $26,000 in a loan to be repaid over 3 years to cover our costs for the first year, including technology, instruction, marketing, and the materials we need to run this camp.
Now, circling back to Ivan, he is using our program as his own personal support system, which is how he's been able to combat those pressures we mentioned earlier. And if I know Ivan, I can tell you that he values his family and himself. So he is not only surviving his circumstance, but he's thriving in it.
So we invite you to be our champion today and join Scholars Hope Foundation as we continue to inspire and guide our youth towards higher education and successful in the workforce. Thank you.
All right.
Great presentation. And I know you focused on a summer academy for the launch of your program. And because it seems that your model requires families who will pay the tuition to help subsidize the scholarships for the students from Oakview. And I'm glad you're highlighting the Oakview neighborhood for this. I would suggest, thinking about as you scale up and grow, how you may or may not want to include the year-round kind of after-school programming opportunities as maybe or maybe not part of how you approach your enterprise. But great presentation.
Thank you. I enjoyed the presentation as well. I'd like to always give some feedback that I thought was good. I could see the connection to the program, especially like the pacing. I do like that the slides were, I think at a good pace where I can absorb it as the judge, because sometimes you get overwhelmed with stats, and it's okay to pause and just listen and connect in that way. So I thought that was a good choice strategically that you made. I do, echo what my fellow judge was saying is narrowing down on something small and being really, really good at it and getting good word of mouth. Right? That's the best form of traction that you can get in, I think, any business, is that you're growing organically. And people are so excited that in other schools and they're telling others, and then you expand from there. So I would say, narrow that focus and be superb. And in the end, I think it'll pay off and you can diversify. But great presentation.
Really enjoyed your presentation. I thought it was very nicely put together. So kudos to that. You didn't mention it, but I'm curious as to the relationship between the students and also the Scholars Hope students. I would really promote that and encourage that. And it's a great social opportunity for you to reach out to a broader audience, especially down in the Huntington Beach area. And maybe consider advertising on like local network, like neighborhood apps and things like that. And also maybe even consider making that part of your business pitch to the families who could possibly, sponsor a child or make a donation.
I'll echo some of the other judges here on very clear slide visuals and very easy to understand data that's compelling and tells a story. So good on you for not just telling data statistics for the sake of saying that. I will say one of the things that I would want to see proven out more is that beta test and really understanding, I used to work for Science Channel and we did have coding academies, and a lot of times what you see is in elementary school education, you can make a big push, but then in middle school and high school, if you don't continue that education, much like a foreign language, you start to lose that familiarity. So kind of what is a handoff between your 1-week course and what is kind of the transformation you can really promise in that short amount of time, and how does that really bridge the gap to really get some of these kids to actually pursue a career in the STEM field, which I think would be a great outcome. So something to think about there.
Thank you.
Yeah, excellent presentation overall. I applaud your efforts for leveling the playing field in educational playing field in low-income communities and filling a vital need for computer literacy, which we all know is lacking in the new digital economy. I can see why you got such an impressive roster of supporters and funders, but I would just add that you might want to think about trying to tap into the local topology of high-tech companies that call Orange County home, that I would think would love to get on board in supporting your efforts.
Overall, just fantastic presentation. My colleagues here have said everything. Well, I think the only thing I would add is I love the fact that you're targeting middle school kids, because that's where we lose most of our kids. And as a Latino, it resonated for me because I was rescued as a middle school kid who could have gone either way had it not been for some intervention. So I think the fact that you have a target audience that really needs it, and you're working with alumni kids. So I'm looking at your roster. At a certain point, as you decide to go to the program, also look at the banks, because the banks have Community Reinvestment Act requirements, and I'm sure this is the kind of thing that they can really rally around. And I think that, and then also to Hill's point, the evaluation. How do we know it's really working? And then being able to do it more than a week. They need more than a week. Summer's long, right? Great. Congratulations. Thank you.
When it came time to transfer to a four-year college and apply for scholarships and try to land a job that would kickstart my career, I noticed they all wanted me to do the same thing. They were requiring me to articulate who I was and why I mattered. They'd ask questions like, tell me about yourself, who are you? What's the biggest obstacle you overcame and what did you learn from it? Why should we select you? I don't know how those questions make you feel, but for me, I would mentally freeze. I had no idea what to say. Where would I even start? I began second guessing myself and I lost a ton of confidence. The applications I submitted, the interviews I went on, they didn't showcase my potential, and I was left with a lot of rejection. And in those moments I realized I had a lot of academic support, I had help to become a better athlete, but who or what was helping me discover who I was and why I mattered? The answer was no one and nothing. And unfortunately today there are countless students in the same situation I was in. They lack access to role models that can inspire them, and they lack resources that can help them piece their stories together and own who they are. I realized that there was a problem, and I've dedicated myself to helping solve it. I am Richard Reyes, and after I became the first person in my family to earn 2 college degrees and make my dream come true, I launched the Plus Me Project. We're an organization that believes that everyone has a story that matters, and every week we send our trained storytellers into middle and high schools to share our journeys of how we made it to college. We then have a 10-hour curriculum that helps students learn how to discover, develop, and articulate their own stories. We've impacted over 75,000 students so far, and we're so proud of what we've done, but we're even more excited about our newest product. I'm so pleased to introduce you all to our Your Story Matters journals. These 100-page personal narrative guides have been strategically designed to complement our curriculum and also be sold as a standalone product. They're filled with positive quotations, and they help students reflect on the people who have impacted them, the places that have helped define them. They reflect on their struggles and their accomplishments. We tap into their emotions. We provide tools to help learn how to piece a story together. We help them dream about their future, and we provide them practical tips on how to utilize what they wrote in their own journal to enhance their college and career opportunities. This journal is a new resource that did not exist before, and it is going to help so many students truly understand how special and resilient they already are.
So there's a huge market for this journal in the Los Angeles area already. So we have 79 college access programs in this community. College access programs are either federally funded or they're their own capacity building organizations that come alongside nonprofits like Plus Me to help improve college access for underserved communities. There are also 320 high schools in the LA area. High schools with low-income students or underserved students have specific funding from state and federal governments to help increase high school graduation rates and get these high school graduates into college. So by partnering with us, we can help them achieve a shared goal. We also have 230,000 parents in the area who are hoping to help their kids develop their confidence, develop their stories, and get them into the college of their dreams. So the Plus Me project is known for many things. We're known for our writing, we're known for getting students into college and our storytelling, and we primarily work with underserved students. Though there's other great organizations in the country that are doing awesome work, none of them are really fitting into the niche like ours. We believe that we are a unique product that's ready to hit the market. In the LA area, we have developed some great partnerships. We've developed these partnerships because we're recognized as leaders in the space for developing stories and increasing confidence in students. In addition, this journal is copyrighted as well, so we can add that to our partnerships. So our business strategy reflects 3 different pricing models, which reflects our 3 different target markets. So we have grade level sets, which can be purchased by college access programs or by individual high schools who are hoping to help their 11th graders develop their stories and increase their confidence before they start applying to colleges. We're also going to be selling them as classroom sets where individual high schools can focus in on a specific group of students. The class sets could be led by the teacher and have the teacher work through the journal with the students, or they could be paired up with the Plus Me curriculum and have a Plus Me person come in and help them work through that. We'll also be selling them individually to parents in a buy one, give one model. So for every notebook that a parent purchases, we'll be donating a notebook for a student that maybe cannot afford one on their own. Currently, the cost of the notebook is about $4.50. This includes designing, shipping, storing, packaging the notebooks, and we believe this is a pretty conservative number. And as we increase in the notebook sales, the cost of the notebooks will go down. Even with this conservative number, we have great revenues and great profits that will be coming from this venture. The jump from year 2 to year 3 reflects our 3-year goal of selling 55,000 notebooks to different students. This may seem ambitious, but we have the numbers to back it up.
We have a great team behind us. Our staff of 4 and our board of 14 has been integral in pushing forward this initiative. But they really wanted us to know, is this going to be profitable? Is it going to be sustainable? So they advised us, Go to an educational conference and exhibit the journals. Apply for a foundation grant. Talk to your current college access partners to see if they would buy them. And I'm so pleased to share, in the past 2 months alone, from the Boost Conference, Gear Up for LA, and the Amundsen Foundation, we have 11,538 journals prepaid. This means this year, 11,500 students are going to have access to this journal, write in it, and take it with them. It's a resource that did not exist before. We're so excited, and we want to bring it to more students. We're asking for a $50,000 investment. With these funds, $15,000 will go to marketing, so that we can attend more conferences and advertise to the right audience. $15,000 will go towards personnel, so that we can hire someone part-time to help manage the operations of these journals. $10,000 will go towards production, so that we can print more and lower our cost of goods. And lastly, $10,000 will go towards research and development, because we have a lot of great data people on our board that know that we can find an innovative way to showcase how this journal is truly making an impact.
But that's not all. After we learn from our research and development, we want to continue improving our journals to make it an even better product. We also want to develop an online curriculum to dovetail with the current curriculum that we have and make it accessible for teachers that are not in the Los Angeles area. We also want to take our Your Story Matters journal and make it applicable to storytelling for your job applications.
I've proved so many people wrong, including myself, when I graduated from the college of my dreams. We hope you'll partner with us to ensure that every student has the opportunity to apply to the college of their dreams, and when they're asked why they matter, they'll be able to articulate who they are and why they matter.
Because with the Plus Me project, everyone's story matters.
Thank you.
That was a great presentation. Congratulations. Very well done. I think it's super innovative and really creative, engaging, and it's got a great mission. I would have liked to have heard a little bit more about how you intend to scale this up, especially in terms of guiding your students through the program, because I think that's key. I think it's a really cool thing, but if they don't know how to use it properly, and also like having some kind of feedback loop for them, that would have been nice to hear.
Great job, great presentation, good visuals. I thought, Richard, your story was compelling because as a founder, CEO, one of the things that you evaluate in terms of success is, are you solving your own problem? Have you gone through this yourself? And you have, right? So I think that's where the passion is derived, hone in on that. I can't even say better, just continue to tell that story. I think it's very impactful. So, having that problem that you're solving yourself and building out this great business model is impressive, especially when you talk about, the traction since 2013. I would hone in even break down where you've impacted 75,000 students. Now has that grown? And that's going to give a really good growth story. With that, I think you have an ambitious vision that you can expand upon in terms of sustainability and growth. You're talking about online curriculum and storytelling for job applications. That's great. You're talking about building a platform. Be confident, go big, because people want to join big. So you're going to be able to recruit and inspire your employees because they want to be part of a company that's meaningful and solves the hard. So continue to do that. I thought it was a great presentation and impressive and simple to understand.
I too thought that your personal story is probably one of your greatest assets and one of your greatest sales pitches for your product. I like the aspect of sustainability. As Juan had pointed out, in terms of it's not just about college access, but later on down the line, helping folks position themselves for getting a job, not even just their first job, but successive jobs after that. Because everybody can always use, support in telling their story better. I like the fact that you pointed out that you tested this at like the Boost conference and other places and show that there's demand. I don't know how you would get this information, but I think my initial reaction was, well, it's a printed material, are people going more digital? But maybe tapping into some data sources, if they're available, about how there's actually, I don't know if it's a growth or a return to paper in terms of journals and things like that. I think that might, help calm your potential investors a little bit. But great job.
I love the idea. I think being able to articulate yourself in any capacity, whether it's a personal setting or professional setting, is perhaps the biggest thing that you can do for your career and your life, and training students at a very early age, I think, is very smart. I do find the journal to be interesting, although I'm drawing parallels in my head to the textbook industry and kind of how to avoid that. And my colleague here used the word platform, which is, I think, exactly right in terms of making it digital friendly and trying to make sure that there's some added value aside from the journal itself, which looks very intuitive and great already. I would also say that in your financial projections, because I know how these conferences work, and it's great that you have such high traction already, which is a huge indicator, I would be a little bit cautious to assume that all those customers will move on to the second year, to just ensure that customer success and people are using the journal and getting value out of it, and those are all things that you can do especially well when you're an online platform, so definitely consider those things when looking about the sustainability of the business. But great job.
So we're now going to move to the second phase of tonight's program. We've had the presentations from the three finalists. The judges are going to collect their materials and go deliberate. We're going to have the other 7 participants in this year's Academy give 3-minute pitches, and you, the audience, will get to vote who wins the $5,000 Audience Favorite Award. So this is a time for you to, clap, cheer, influence your neighbors, stuff the ballot box, do whatever you need to do to get the team you want to win. I think we're ready to go.
The African American Firefighter Museum is dedicated to collecting, conserving, and sharing the heritage of African American firefighters because of their unplanned bravery and heroism in the face of an unexpected foe. We use the core story of the Oldston Tories, the men who band together to fight for an integrated fire department, because at that time, in the early 1950s, only men were allowed on the department, in order to show how individual and or collective action can advance society. And as such, our venture is to take our show on the road, in a manner of speaking, through a traveling exhibit in order to inspire others to act intentionally to create a better world. I'll start by sharing an account. Kyler. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a hero in our midst. Kyler's mother unexpectedly fell ill when Kyler was in junior high school, and then his twin sister, just a few years later, while they were in high school, was stricken with an illness as well. Kyler jumped into action like any responsible firefighter and responded in the best way he knew how in order to keep things going. His sister and mother are fine, I'm proud to announce. Years later, though, Kyler is still touted as a hero his family needed in order to keep the family united. He still experiences some post-trauma, but when asked if he'd do it again, Kyler responds with a resounding yes because of the impact it had on his family. Kyler's was an individual act of heroism that helped sustain a key component in society, the family. Baram is another product of heroism. His parents fled war-torn Iran in order to provide a life for their child. Theirs was a collective action that resulted in their son graduating from one of the top universities nationwide, UCLA. They didn't know what additional fires they would face and have to overcome, the least of which is the fact that they didn't speak the language of the country to which they escaped. But they overcame what some might consider to be insurmountable obstacles in order to advance society. You see, within each of us exists a hero. Every person has the potential to act in a courageous manner in order to make our world better for someone other than themselves. Your story may not be as intense as the ones I've shared, but your story is nonetheless important to the larger American, nay, the larger human story. So this evening, do not hesitate to support the venture for which we are intending to do, because we believe that the work that we do at the African American Firefighter Museum, that of celebrating the history and ongoing legacy of the national black firefighter story, connects people across cultures, generations, and communities, and ignites a sense of community engagement and public service. How do we do that? Because our story is your story.
Good afternoon, my name is Stephen Levy and I'm the founder of AFCHA, the nonprofit youth soccer academy here in Southern California, but for the purpose of serving children in Central America. We serve kids through the power of play by collecting and recycling youth soccer equipment throughout North America and transporting it to the kids in Guatemala and El Salvador. We currently serve over 135 children, ages 5 through 19 in our program. I'd like to share a quick story with you about our first time that we ever dropped off any donations. When we dropped off donations, we were told about an infamous yellow Jeep. This yellow Jeep is the transportation method for the local gang. Quote, the world's most dangerous gang, MS-13. One night, I get a phone call from my coach who lets me know, a frantic phone call, who lets me know that they found us. They found out about what we're doing. He immediately calls practice and lets everybody go home for the day, when he immediately picks up the phone and lets me know what's going on. As soon as he calls practice, he sends the kids home for the day. 4 doors fly open out of this yellow Jeep who has just arrived at the practice field. And 4 members of the world's most dangerous gang approach my head coach, who is just operating on a field with recycled gear here from the United States, trying to make an impact in the lives of his children. The 4 individuals approach him and let him know that they know exactly what's going on here, that they've seen the crowdfunding campaign, and that they know all about who Stephen is, where his grandmother lives, where his mother lives, but they're actually here to pick up their kids and to say thank you, because they believe in the impact and the power of play. They see that we can motivate these kids, motivate these youth through the sport of soccer, and have an impact in lives on a professional level, academic level, and their interpersonal skills. Right now, if you Google Central American child, you will see over 100 pictures, hundreds of images of children that are detained and separated along the southern border of the United States. Through the power of play, we are having a huge impact in the lives of the kids in the communities directly at the source, motivating them academically, socially, and personally. We're the 5th nonprofit on your ballot, and if we can convince members of the world's most dangerous gang of our impact, we hope that we can convince you too. Thank you.
Next in line, this will be number 6 out of 10.
Hi, I'm Jessica. In my community, there's a school without a library. At that same school, only 1/3 of the children are meeting math and language arts standards. That school is Telfair Elementary, and it has the highest population of homeless students in all of LAUSD. California is the 5th largest global economy. We invest in our land, agriculture, our entertainment. We have the resources and the ability to invest in our education, our schools, our children equally. However, we also have the highest poverty rate in the entire country. 45% of our children are poor. With underfunded schools, libraries are being closed. Now, when did you last imagine a school without a library? We are Tiachichas, Centro Cultural and Bookstore, dedicated to and creating community in the Northeast San Fernando Valley for the past 18 years. We're also home to Dia Chucha Press, currently celebrating 30 years of publishing socially engaged literature and poetry that matters. We have a large collection of bilingual books and books by authors of color. We also know that literacy can change lives. Being the only bookstore in the area, we are committed to literacy. We know the impact that trauma of poverty can cause on a child's life, and we also know, again, that literacy changes lives. It does, it changes lives. And our social venture is to create a subscription box which serves a twofold cause. One, to ignite our Latinx and Chicanx communities nationwide by creating hand-selected boxes of hand-selected books that are relevant to our narratives, which create cultural inclusion and transformation. And two, each box purchase will then put a book in the hand of a child, igniting all opportunities. It's a one-to-one give with a purpose or solution that educates and liberates our children and our adults in our society. The fuse has been lit, say with me. The fuse has been lit. Literacy is the key to change. Literacy is the key to change. We've seen it change gangsters onto a path of redemption and healing, as it did for our co-founder, Luis Rodriguez. We've seen children be empowered by books and giving them hope past this poverty cycle, as it did for our bookstore manager, Rosalilia Mendoza. There is power and representation equality. And when we have that, anything is possible. Please vote for Dia Chucha.
I hardly ever use my phone. No. This is Ranger. So when you see him outside, just call him Ranger. I usually don't use mics, so I should be a Ranger instructor.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Jose Pila. And I've been to rehab for substance abuse and alcoholism twice. And that subsequently led me to homelessness, waking up in park benches and in the streets. And I'm also a United States Army veteran of 8 years. Shouldn't happen. The current transitioning that the military has for service members out of the military is inadequate. I went through it. Going through that transitioning out of the military leaves you feeling alone and lost and without a purpose. Because we no longer have that identity that we held from the military, waking up every day to somebody telling us exactly what to do. And then when we separate from the military, that identity gets stripped away from us and we're left feeling alone and without that purpose. For me, like I mentioned, it led me to homelessness, but I knew that if I continued on the same path, waking up on that bench was going to be the rest of my life. So what I did, I started rebuilding, restructuring, and reinforcing my core beliefs and my core values from the military and implementing them into a civilian life so that I can change that mindset so that it better fits what I was transitioning into. That led me to graduate from honors from Cal Poly Pomona. I have an MBA from University of Redlands in finance. And I'm a PhD candidate in philosophy and finance. I also started this company with my co-founder, Pedro De Leon, who has a similar story of transitioning out of the military like I do. With 10 Hut, what we're looking to do is to utilize the housing first model so that we can create a strong foundation so that we start developing that transitioning that the veteran actually deserves. And we can start building that foundation, that structure that we need for that veteran. We're looking for your vote so that you can help us, help those veterans transition better, because they gave so much for us and asked for nothing in return. Thank you.
Is it 8 or 9 now?
Sorry.
Good evening, my name is Jess Burnquist and I work at Creative Visions. My sophomore year of college, I was sitting in the student union watching The Simpsons with 100 other kids when the show was interrupted with breaking news. The United States had bombed Mogadishu, Somalia, and their intended target wasn't hit, and in fact, instead, a multitude of civilians were killed. The news anchor returned to announce the death of a young man named Dan Eldon. He had been at the site and killed by an angry mob, beaten and stoned to death. Dan was a photojournalist. He was 22 years old at the time of his death. He was handsome, he was dynamic, and I couldn't understand for the life of me how this young man, 1 year older than myself, had accomplished so much in his young life. The Simpsons came back on, but my life's path was completely altered. I wanted to learn as much as I could about him. It was important to me to understand how a young person could have caused such attention to the world's issues and used creativity to create so much change. I learned that Dan was raised in Kenya and had always had a desire to help those in need. So had I. But the adults in my life were really quick to give me skills for work and education, and when I wanted to engage in the social issues of the world, especially human rights, their advice was falling short. How had Dan managed it? He used creativity to tell his story. And to tell his story, he used photojournalism, and he created journals that were beautiful and filled with art and accounts of his travels in his young life. His images still inspire me, and at the time, they gave me the belief, and it solidified my belief, that anyone can use creativity to create change, especially young people. And at that moment, I knew that's what I wanted to do with my life. Give them the opportunity to discover how to create change. How was I going to do it? Became a teacher. And in my 17th year, I discovered a program called Rock Your World. It's a curriculum anchored in human rights that uses multimedia to teach students how to draw attention to the issues they care most about. I loved it so much and saw it impact my students so much that I reached out to the creators, and that's when the stars aligned, because I realized that the creators of Rock Your World were in fact the founders of Creative Visions, who were in fact the mother and sister of my hero, Dan Eldon. So I am so thrilled to now be the director of this program and be able to offer creative activism camps to give kids the space to explore their interests and to use effective means with their creativity to create lasting change in the world, which is why I'm here to ask you for your support for our creative activist camps that are designed to inspire, discover, act, and inspire. Yay! Thank you.
Number 9.
Hey everyone, I'm Robin, and I'm here representing our nonprofit, which is the International Collegiate Health Initiative. So one of the ICHI officers, one of their founding officers, Diego Zavala, who is here with us tonight, was born with a physical condition called fibular hemimelia. And what this meant is that Diego was born missing a bone in his right leg. So while he was growing up, when other kids were going to their after-school sports, he was stuck going to doctor's appointments, hospital visits, and even surgeries. And despite all of this, it wasn't until he was in high school when he actually had the opportunity to get the treatment he needed for his condition. Now, what this meant was that his family had to immigrate to the United States. And even after they had packed up their lives, moved to an entirely different country, that treatment would still end up costing his family nearly $100,000. Now, luckily for Diego, he had health insurance, and he was able to afford the treatment that would change his life. But not everyone in our community is so lucky. In fact, 1 in 4 children in the Los Angeles County lack health insurance. So for them, getting such a treatment would be entirely impossible and unaffordable. That is why ICHI was founded. It was to make a difference for these underserved communities and to give these uninsured individuals a chance to receive the treatments that they needed to save their lives. This October, ICHI will proudly be opening their first ever sanctuary clinic, which will provide free healthcare for the cities of Maywood and Bell. And they'll be collaborating with people here at the UCLA School of Public Health, as well as the city councils of Maywood and Bell, to help bring that accessible healthcare to those communities. But not only that, they'll be doing this through a high school enrichment program, which will be bringing motivated student volunteers from local high schools into their clinic to help provide this healthcare for the people who need it so much. So because of this, they'll have the opportunity to not only provide this life-changing care, but also to change the lives of high school students in our local area, to give these high school students the opportunity to pursue the careers of their dreams. And because of that, the ICHI team would be very grateful for your vote, because that vote is a vote that will make a difference not only for the lives of these underserved communities, but also for our local high school students. Thank you.
They're going to go count ballots. We'll settle back down in our chairs for our keynote speech and then our announcement of the winners. So with that, I'm going to turn this over to Bessie Densmore to announce our keynote speaker.
All right. So we've just spent some time together hearing from people who are committed to beginning social enterprises, getting ready to take that journey, and it is our tradition to always invite someone who's actually walked the walk and is still walking to come and talk with us about what it's like and how it's going for them. And this evening I am really pleased that we're going to be welcoming Lauren Groper, who is a social entrepreneur with quite a long history of building a business in compostable packaging, which she built on top of a previous career as a consultant. So she is a champion for environmental sustainability. And when I was thinking about who would be a good person to invite for this evening, I was pretty committed to looking for a female entrepreneur, because the last few years we've had male social entrepreneurs. And I got out, thank you, I hunted up an old Inc. magazine that was a list of the 100 most innovative women entrepreneurial women, and there was Lauren. And it made me really happy because I actually had met her. Several years ago, I was taking a tour of Lacey, the clean tech incubator, which LA has built over the last, 5 years? It's a wonderful, interesting place. We've got some smart people in it. And I started talking to Lauren because I have a restaurant and I was trying to figure out how to get out of styrofoam, and she was most helpful. So I was pretty impressed to discover that I've been talking to this nationally known person, and even happier when I wrote her and asked if she would come and speak with us this evening. So Lauren, thank you for coming. Welcome.
So I thought I would take you on my journey from where I started and tell you my story, and then a little bit about how far we've come with Free Purpose. So my background is actually not in social enterprise, I wish it were. I started out in sustainable architecture. And I've always been super passionate about sustainability. I grew up in Vancouver, Canada. I was a tree hugger as a teenager and wanted to do something in the environmental field, but didn't quite know what. So after college, I actually went and worked for the United Nations Environment Program doing policy work and realized that was not really what I wanted to do. I did some traveling and did some work in ecotourism, and then realized I was very obsessed with design and architecture. And I happened to go see a lecture of a man named William McDonough. I don't know if any of you know who that is. He wrote a book called Cradle to Cradle. And it's all about rethinking environmentalism and rethinking design. And his whole philosophy is that we shouldn't think about environmentalism and sustainability as about being less bad. So anytime that I had kind of thought about my approach to environmentalism before that, it was like, oh, let's just try and be less bad. Let's use less water. Let's use less resources. And his approach was, well, if you design things better, then you don't have to use less. If you design good products and good buildings and good services, then you don't have to worry about not living in abundance. You can live in abundance, just design things better. And so that really stuck with me, and I ended up pursuing a career in sustainable design. So I worked in the architecture field, as I mentioned. I worked on hotels and office buildings and airports, all green. And then, as luck would have it, I had a call to come to LA and bring sustainable design to film and television sets. So I took this design philosophy to set building and was really excited by what we were doing with set design, but it was on the sets that I really got to see how much plastic waste and styrofoam was used on a day-to-day basis. I'm sure you at Netflix know this. But it's crazy how much is actually used in the industry, and when you were working on set, you see it with your own eyes every day. So it was very impactful for me, and I actually wasn't really aware of the problems of plastic or any sort of what this issue was until I saw it firsthand. And to me, that was really the biggest issue in terms of making production and sets more sustainable. And obviously, you would have to, in order to be successful in the market, it would have to have a much more affordable price. So fast forward a couple of years, I just become more interested in the technology and what was happening, and decided that I would finally kind of throw in the towel and take the dive into entrepreneurial life and start Repurpose. So that was at the end of 2010, early 2011. We were super, super scrappy. The goal was create these plant-based products, bring them to people, and really create a brand around this. So that was the big difference for us. We weren't trying to service every restaurant. There were people kind of doing that already. And we thought, we don't really want to be in that business, although there's huge impact. We want to get into people's homes and people's minds and be this brand and be this platform and create all kinds of products that are plant-based, better for you and your family, biodegradable and non-toxic. So that was always our mission and our vision. And as I said, we started extremely scrappy. So even if you don't, have everything on your checklist ticked off that you're ready to start a business, if you've got the passion and the vision, go for it. Because the moral of the story is, it's going to be a long road, but if you have the passion, I think you can get there. So, as I mentioned, we're filled with passion, had some products, developed a partnership with a manufacturer, and said, let's do it. We were really just three of us. It was myself and some co-founders and a dining room table. And now we're in over 10,000 stores across the country, including Walmart. So it's been a long journey, and I'm going to walk you through where we have come. So as I mentioned, we're all about plants. It's plants over plastic. We make biodegradable products that are non-toxic. We're selling cups and plates and straws. We do mixed straws that will replace all these terrible straws. Trash bags, everything that you would use to that's disposable. And we're also getting into reusable products as well. So I'll talk about that in a minute. As I mentioned, it was the plastic problem that really got me to make a move on this and really try to create a solution to what's happening. I'm so excited and happy that this is finally a conversation that everybody's having, and that is top of mind, and that is in the news. But the problem is really staggering, and it's not going away. Recycling is really not happening in this country at all. 150,000 pieces of plastic are discarded every second. It's something that we have to do something about, and I'm so happy that Repurpose has one of the solutions. It's a huge opportunity from a business perspective as well, just because of all the mounting legislation that we see, the plastic bag bans, the straw bans. This is helping our cause in a huge way because people are finally talking about this issue and making bold moves. So we're the zero waste solution, as I mentioned. We're made from plants. You use our products, you can then put them in the compost, and once they're then composted, they can help grow plants again. So going back to that design philosophy, you don't have to worry about using disposable, it's just designed better. And that was what really created the ethos behind our products. So we are the products for everybody. Like I mentioned, we sell at Walmart. We're not just a niche product. Everything that we sell is affordable. We sell products that range between $1.99 and $5.99. So they're affordable to everybody. They're meant to make your life easier. They're meant to make you not feel guilty. We want you to have fun, and we want you to feel good about using our products. This I love because it really shows that the tide is changing and moving in the right direction. In 2013, only 57% of consumers preferred to buy from environmentally friendly brands. It was a perk. Now it's a priority. And this is something that's so exciting because it's not just our industry, it's every industry. It's fashion, it's cleaning products, it's baby products, it's toys, it's everything. And so this is something that as you guys enter the career force and enter the social enterprise world, the world is way bigger and the opportunities are way broader than they were when I entered. So, and we're hiring, by the way, so there's that. I just wanted to show this as well because I think there are a lot of companies out there because of this big bubble that's now being created that are doing some greenwashing or maybe sort of making claims. It's really important that when you are buying a new product or looking at a company that claims sustainability, that they do have these third-party certifications, and we're very proud about the certifications that we've achieved over the last several years. So super excited about that, and it's just something I want you guys to look for when you're looking at different products and businesses. So as I mentioned, we're in over 10,000 stores. Couldn't be prouder of that. Walmart was always on the list for us, and we got into Walmart at the end of last year. And then I guess somebody from CVS saw us at Walmart, and we got a call from CVS and said, we'd love to put you in 4,000 CVSs. So that was awesome. We went there in February. And then somebody at Rite Aid saw us at CVS. So we want to put you in 3,000 Rite Aids. So it's really been a snowball effect, and we are now in discussions with Target and Costco, and so we really just want to be everywhere so that you have this option everywhere you go. This is what we look like in the store. We're actually rebranding right now, so this is our old branding, but you will see the new branding that I showed you in a few previous slides in September. Just something we're really excited about because we changed the look and feel and just made it more fun and more colorful and something that's a bit more appealing. But we do sit beside Solo and Dixie, and we're not in some corner of the store. Telling the story is obviously hugely important. This is something that we're going to be doing more of. We actually just raised our Series A, $5 million Series A, and we just closed today, actually. So super happy about that. I can actually rest for a little while. But part of what we're going to be putting funds towards is marketing, obviously, and PR and communications. And we're going to continue to tell our story because we think it's a really powerful story. And the more people know about the problem and the solution, the more we are using our business as a tool for social change. That's really what we are doing. And so the more we can tell the story, the more change we can impact. We have had, as Betsy mentioned, a little recognition. Our business is also covered in Inc. We're one of the fastest growing businesses. They do an Inc. 500 every year, and we made the list for number 9 coolest product, which we really liked. And then I don't know if you guys are familiar with Burt's Bees brand, but they're really well-known natural brand, and they did this natural launch pad where they picked 10 companies every year to mentor, and they picked us, and so that's been an incredible relationship for us, helped us a lot in terms of our growth, and so I really can't stress enough for you guys starting out just how important it is to have mentors and advisors that have maybe walked the path or done what you're doing or done something similar. Most often they're going to be really friendly and be willing to help, and it's invaluable. So I definitely encourage that. And we've done that through several advisors. These are brands that we want to emulate, brands that have really started from the bottom and created huge national brands. And so we're working with the CEO of Traditional Medicinal Teas, the former VP of Sales at Method, the founder of Plum, and number 3 at Tom's. And so they've helped us tremendously. We just launched some new products, just thought I'd do a little shameless plug. Garbage bags are now in the market, and we're doing the cup that you see on the right. It's like a wine and cocktail cup, and that's what's going to go into Costco. So it's Costco, if you didn't know, is actually the #1 seller of wine in the country. And so we have these wine cups that will accompany that compostable. And we're getting into e-commerce. So this is something that's new for us because we've spent most of our history in brick and mortar. But we're creating new reusable dishwasher microwave safe products for feeding your kids. So you don't want to use plastic, but you want all the performance of plastic. Look no further. We have awesome products. Again, everything is totally non-toxic and compostable pancakes. That is us. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you again, Betsy. This was really fun to do, and I really hope that all you guys go out there and it's going to be, as you can see, it's a long, windy road, and you never know. I never knew when I started out in architecture that I would end up here, so just follow your passion. That's all I can say. Thank you so much.
Who also works for ASE and couldn't be here tonight, and he's heartbroken. And the staff of Partnerships UCLA, especially Christian, who's probably out writing checks. And other parts of UCLA that look after us, including Julie, who got us started this evening. But then, as much as we adore and can't do this without UCLA, we also can't do it without outside funding. And the Nicholas Endowment has been our sort of founding sponsor from the beginning and has stuck with us through thick and thin. And so we always want to really appreciate them. We have had a number of other funders over the years. This year we are enormously grateful to Wells Fargo Foundation for basically providing a match for the endowment. So a round of applause for them. And then once we announce that which you're all waiting for, the winners, we hope you will not run off. We do have dessert treats, and we also, the display tables of all the organizations that you now know a little bit about are still set up, and we hope that you will go and learn more. And if you're moved to get involved with any of the organizations, we hope you will let them know that you'd like to do that. That's why we have the display tables, and a part of why we create this evening the way we created. And finally, if you represent or know a not-for-profit organization that should be in next year's Academy, for which we are now accepting applications, you can find out more about how that works and pick up a flyer with instructions about how to apply at ASE's little table, which is out by the registration desk. And we are this year, for the first time, piloting also an accelerator program for people who are graduates of the Academy who want another round of student and expert mentoring help to get them through the launch. So that program is by invitation only, but if you're interested in learning more more about that, you should also stop by our table and let us know. All right? Was that enough? So that now we have Jess?
So I really enjoyed the vast pitches. And this is for $5,000, but Ranger gets a lifetime of dog food. That's a lot of dog food.
This was a great panel of judges. They had very astute comments and reflection on the three finalists, and they also had a really hard time because they were all really strong presentations. So, in the end, here's how we came out. We have a tie for second place between Coffee with a Cause and Scholars Hope. $15,000 award is going to Plus Me. And there's a tie for second place, $7,500 each to Coffee with a Cause and Scholarship. So we have all right, so come on down and get your checks, and we'll get it right when I mail the real ones. All right. Congratulations, everybody.